All right. I think we are live, judging by the look of the screen. Welcome, everybody. My name is Ben Askren. I believe I was introduced, but I'm hosting this panel. I'm fascinated by cryptocurrency, and this topic's one that I can actually is really interesting to me because I definitely don't understand all of the technicals of crypto. But how do crypto companies, blockchain companies, get their marketing out? And so I'm gonna start asking the questions, and I feel like each one of you has 2 minutes, but I think we can just go back and forth more in a podcast format. So the first question we're gonna start out with is, how can blockchain companies market beyond the innovators and tap into the general public about the potential behind blockchain technology? And I think this is a fascinating one because I talk to regular people every day, and man, you just getting the simple basics through their head is really, really, really challenging. So let's just start with Brad, and then you guys can kind of go off of him. Brad, kick it off.
Sure. So I think the key here is really a focus on value proposition. So when a lot of crypto companies start out, the value proposition is, hey, we're a crypto company and using blockchain tech, you can do X. But for the average consumer, they don't really care how the back end works. They just want it to work well for them. So being able to articulate the value propositions of your product in a way that would benefit the life of an average person in an easy UX, for example, those are easy ways to get in front of the general population.
Yeah, I agree. I think the first decade of this nascent industry is now behind us. And I think we're past this innovators phase. So the next decade will decide which companies, will cross the chasm. So going from early minority to early majority. So foundations of the blockchain technology to completely disrupt the finance and banking industry are strong. But the fact is that the Western world has very good access to financial products and services. So maybe privacy concerns, unstable economic and political environments may accelerate the adoption of cryptocurrencies. But currently, as we can observe, there are still a majority of users that are just like technically savvy investors, speculators, and with DeFi for sure, gamblers, So, so companies will be able to cross the chasm if they will solve real and big problems. Otherwise, the industry will stay niche. So it's an interesting future ahead of us.
And just piggybacking off of what they said, there's the crypto component to a lot of these companies, but at the end of the day, they're serving an end customer. So in the financial services space, maybe the end customer is a bank and they're creating a better document system. So being a thought leader to your end person, not just within the blockchain and crypto space, I would argue is almost more important, because at the end of the day, you're a business and you're trying to get revenue from your customers. And so you want to be the leader in front of them, and you're just building your system on a phenomenal back end that has a lot more strength, but you still have to get in front of those customers.
Yeah, and while working on a strategy, we like to dive in deep on target audience personas. There's primary, secondary, we're A/B testing out a lot of different variants and let the analytics tell us where we're getting the best performance. So when I think mainstream, somewhat broad. If I'm using the targeting on, let's say, Facebook, who has unique data, there's over 40 million cryptocurrency enthusiasts. There's all types of gray areas of financial traders that we can look at. And they're researching these deals. They have an idea. The more trust we could establish, the more abilities we have to be able to have those target audiences repeat the messaging and explain why these opportunities are simple and at high value based at that. I think we're all going to see an evolution.
I'd like to add something. At Innovesta, our company, we're not a crypto company, but we assess all non-public assets. So I feel that with the maturity, I think people or investors are looking for some kind of standardization. And it's valid for, again, all non-public assets, but in crypto, it's even more important because those more sophisticated investors want to compare company to company to get, early warnings and signals. And I think that on top of the marketing efforts, there should be like a joint effort to create somewhere where trust and transparency happen, and that investors can really understand, again, the differences and get more data in this jungle, let's say, of data and information.
Yeah, so I'm going to go just a little tiny bit off script here. I have a friend who has a company which got a blockchain component to reward content creators. And when he started, now he's been around about 18 months. When he started, he really emphasized the blockchain component and there's the token thing. And as he went on, he found that, he did a lot better when he left that part out, because people got so hung up on that and so stuck on that component of it, and they didn't understand it. So it made them fearful, and they were less likely to want to take part in anything, even though it wasn't really a big deal. Once he got them in, then they were easily able to pick up the token and the blockchain component. Do you think that's something that more crypto companies / blockchain companies can do, is just kind of leave that out of it for a second, get the person in and enjoying the product, and then after they kind of see it, explain it to them?
I think you're seeing that with a lot of crypto companies right now, or at least companies in the crypto space. You have companies like BlockFi who launched without a token. Their model doesn't really need it, but some of their competitors still have it. You have companies like Lolly, where their model doesn't necessarily require to have that. Their model is they're trying to give away free Bitcoin. So I think that is something that a lot of founders that are interested in entering the space are looking at. But at the same time, we still have companies that are around from 2017 and even beyond that was core to the business plan, and they're seeing through that now. So it's really sort of a risk tolerance thing at the planning of a business, and there's always the opportunity to add it later if you don't at the launch of a product.
I remember hearing a rule of the first rule of enterprise blockchain is you don't talk about blockchain. And that speaks to the integration into some of these organizations. Same at the consumer level, where is cryptocurrency a bad word? Can you speak to the actual value? And I imagine we'll talk more about marketing channels, but to be able to feature the function, speak to the emotions that are really going to activate the target audience into action is more important than tapping into some different trigger words. Again, we physically have to remove different trigger words depending on the channels that we're using, and whether we're looking at the creative or the landing page, what have you. I could give more ideas around that later in this conversation, but just speaking to that one topic, in many cases, we've seen stronger results by A/B testing, again, different messaging, and seeing where we're getting the louder response.
I'm with an investment firm, Ascendant Industries, and we've got several companies within our portfolio that the partners have invested in that have a blockchain component to them. None of them did we invest in because they were blockchain companies. All of them because the technology was solving a particular problem. And so, Jason, I couldn't agree more. It's not about, hey, this is a blockchain. It's more just like in artificial intelligence or machine learning. It's almost a given these days that you're going to have a robust technical backend. So who are you solving? Who's giving you money, and how are you getting in front of that person who's giving you money? I think at the end of the day, like, if you can solve for those problems, you'll get all the money that you want, and some in token sales or from financial services firms, because you know how to sell a particular product and your customers want it.
Karen, next question. All right, let's move forward then. So I guess that was kind of a mistake I told you guys my buddy made, when he was starting his company. What are some other mistakes that blockchain companies make when they're approaching their marketing strategy? Let's start with Karen.
Yeah, okay.
Happily, and I think it's continuing other things people said. It's not about the token value. It's not, everything is not about, how much money you can make fast. That's, I think, the number one mistake. when approaching, again, people that are not in the hardcore fan club, but what is your value? What do you bring? What do you do? What will you change? I think that's the repeating error that I see. It's like that they're not talking about the value they bring, but only about the token value.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think that at the core of every good marketing strategy should be a very well-defined value proposition. There are just too many companies in this space that don't solve any real problem, or they have a solution and they start looking for the problem. Actually, very few projects today have a really great product market fit. So this, I believe, should be the first task of every marketing leader, to truly understand how a particular solution solves a specific problem and discover how it can fit in the market. So if companies are able to understand that, then they just have to position themselves on the market and successfully target the right segments. So I think this is a crucial part. So having a good product market fit. And a lot of emerging companies don't have it or are still looking for it.
I see a lot of groups with the "if you build it, they will come" mentality, and ignoring good fundamental marketing practices going into their launch or activating new channels. As a marketer, I'm always seeking out more avenues to get the performance, get the results that I need to hit the next milestones, the next stages of growth. So to really understand that, I have to tap into the user journey, which is often 7 to 17 touch points. And when I hear about a marketing plan around a launch, or again, even a new channel, it's, hey, let's see what type of results we can get in a day, in a week. We'll decide whether we want to continue from there. And it's just the wrong mentality, where in most cases, these channels will work for you. It's a matter of how to get them to work for you. And even at that point, the conversions are a small, minute percentage of the actual traffic that's going through. The whole concept of the marketing funnel, if you need a whole lot of traffic to produce some mid-funnel conversions, maybe some actual measurements that are meaningful to you, and most importantly, the advocacy, the peer-to-peer marketing to follow.
I also think tactically, it's important to point out how quickly our industry moves, and this is not this does not exclude the marketing side of things. The best practices, the proper platforms to be on, the tactics to use on those platforms, those things shift so rapidly. So if you think back to like 3 years ago or so, everyone was on Telegram and over-investing assets into managing Telegram and writing bots for that. That's no longer the case. Like, most companies don't manage their community via Telegram anymore. So everyone's looking for, especially in this, the COVID reality, the work from home reality now, there's all these new opportunities, whether that means you're investing into TikTok or ads on TikTok, or you're doubling or tripling down on Twitter. There's a lot of different things out there that I think are still being tested, but new best practices are being developed every day.
I also think too many companies spend money on marketing before they've actually done anything and before they've validated their audience. And so the more that you can get out there, make partnerships, make deals, get some early sales, really understand who your customers are and what they want, the more powerful it's going to be when you go out. And that's from both a crypto perspective as well as a customer perspective. If you can get that early understanding and then come out big in the market and put a lot of energy behind it, once you've gotten that base, somebody coming out and saying, here's all the things that I've done, compared to somebody coming out and saying, here's what I'm going to do, is all the difference night and day in that every startup, frankly, needs to focus on.
Yeah.
Right, but the conversation is so different between, let's say, traditional startups and crypto projects. And as Andrej said, when you talk to agencies, it's so obvious, because When it's crypto, the conversation is about leads, number of leads, and that's it. And when you're a startup and sitting with an agency, well, there's, they're talking about the process, and it's always so costly and frightening, but it takes time to find the differentiation, to find the value proposition. And I think we need to shift in crypto from, the conversation about leads to the conversation about the value. And I can repeat it again and again, but I will stop now.
Awesome. Brad just mentioned Twitter and TikTok, but Facebook, Instagram, Google, they're obviously making it harder, probably won't say impossible, but making it much more difficult for you guys to and companies to advertise on them. If you guys, and you can speak to your companies or others, where would you guys think the ad dollars are best spent? And I did, especially, I think, Joy, you said that, a lot of people want to advertise before they even have anything going, which is a terrible idea in my opinion also. But let's assume they have something good going. Then where would we advertise?
So I personally think thought leadership is the number one thing. I mean, being here, speaking at a conference, putting out research in your particular industry, being the expert, and speaking in front of groups of people who will ultimately buy your product. There's nothing more beneficial than that. And then you can take a digital firm and share that very widely, utilizing paid across a number of different platforms, and you're not violating anything because you're producing thought leadership, which ultimately sells way better than marketing to get people to buy some, to get people to invest in something. So that, be a thought leader in your particular space in front of your customer, and you will win 100% of the time.
I really agree with that. So the whole earned media category is so important, especially in our space. I think that with marketing, and especially when it comes to paid, it's about sort of developing, a marketing moat, right? So like, what are you able to do better than your competitors on a similar platform? Whether it's a content thing or the speed at which you can execute on new content, or the quality at which you produce it. Those things are all things that will set you apart. So I think that the ability to advertise on like YouTube or Facebook, but being able to do it quickly and in a way that speaks to whatever your audience is talking about today versus what they were talking about 6 months ago, that's sort of a key to making those ad dollars go as far as they can.
Yeah, I definitely agree with those. And stemming from a strategy with the target audiences, seeing their digital touch points, exactly where they go online, and exploring organic and paid at both of those junctures. Going back to the content marketing funnel to talk about the organic type of placements, showcasing thought leadership. I love how that was mentioning looking to get third-party validation and really stimulate social sharing from that. When it comes to paid, we run into problems with all different types of verticals of advertisements, not specific to just crypto, and constantly have to find workarounds. There was a period this year where any landing page that had COVID-19 on it was systematically getting blocked from advertising accounts. So I've always had to look creatively and try to think of out-of-the-box solutions on how to advertise to be above the rules and be compliant. Not above the rules, following the rules and being compliant. So working with reps at these different channels, there's a certification process. Also, if we look at the audiences, the advertising creative, any pages being advertised as part of that, and the landing page, if we're removing different types of trigger words there, featuring the function versus trying to tap into larger headlines of that day, we're being compliant. We actually learned this, again, from our reps around a cannabis-related currency a few years back, where we were systematically getting shut down, getting approved by the reps, and finding out this is how it operates. And they gave us analogies for sporting goods stores and some of the products they sell that would be banned. So the best picture I could paint is if it's an investment opportunity or a trading opportunity, if it's 2 landing pages deep, that your offering is presented, you're following the rules. And I also want to mention there's plenty of places that invite these ads at this point, including Apple, Google for some of the App Store placements. We're doing that for a lot of the exchanges and trading platforms we're working with. So I want to highlight that as well.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Ben,
Okay.
I made a question and not an answer, but I wonder what I felt that Telegram brought is a sense of community. And talking about other platforms and channels and ways of, and I agree with you all about, you know, other channels, but where do we build those communities? That's like, that wasn't replaced yet, I think.
Andrej, you want to add?
Yeah, I wanted to add on this topic because NiceHash is coming from the mining sector of the crypto industry, you know, the least understood sector. And we are also affected by this ban, let's say, of not being able to spend marketing dollars on Facebook and Google. So we are really focused on content marketing strategies. So we try to create content that educates and brings value to people. We are very, very focused also on localizing all of our products and services, you know, because in the end of the day, if we want to bring crypto to mainstream, we have to take into account that not the entire world speaks English or it doesn't speak that well. So we are really focused on bringing our services to different languages. And yeah, like Karen said, we're focused on building communities around our service, and Reddit for us is like the key place to be active.
Cool. All right. Well, it'll likely be our last question. And if we have any time left, I have a quick one. We'll go rapid fire. Do you guys find the story process for crypto and blockchain different than non-crypto businesses because there's so many gray areas and regulatory hurdles to overcome? And I guess that would probably speak to the influencer report and thought leader portion that you guys pretty much all mentioned as well.
Yeah, maybe if I can just continue. This is a great question, Ben. And, you know, marketing principles are always the same. Marketing is about positioning the brand in the mind of the consumer. But it's very ironic how this entire industry has origins in something where trust does not exist. But trust is the main pillar of every marketing. You must convince your potential users that they can trust you. And if we remember the Bitcoin white paper from Satoshi, you know, Bitcoin should work in a trustless environment. So of course, this now creates a challenge for how to create a good narrative for blockchain products and services. And we must not forget that a lot of crypto services emerged due to mistrust in conventional systems and regulations. So yeah, this is a major hurdle to overcome in the coming years. I think in the end we'll see like a hybrid approach, hybrid solutions, because in the end, if we want to profit, we will have to play by the rules. But we'll see how the future will unfold for crypto.
And in terms of compliance messaging, it's really not that much different than traditional fintech and finance. You're following, you know, from a high level, more or less the exact same rules. So it's not that much of a shift from traditional marketing messaging in the first place.
One of the actually both of a few blockchain companies that we've invested in at Ascendant, Invenium was one. They made partnerships with some pretty big third-party companies within the financial services space. They, I don't remember off the top of my head what's public and what's not, so I won't go into the partnerships, but they basically offered, you know, some preferred pricing. They did some creative things in order to build some pretty strong partnerships with incredibly credible companies which helped validate who they were and what they were doing. So, to the extent that you can go out, build strong partnerships with name brand, get strong customers who have name brand, that just builds your credibility by utilizing theirs too. That's another strategy.
And people don't trust what they believe online. And bringing in mainstream audiences, unfortunately, we still do have to look at that trust component. And a longer story, I've found, particularly early stage, to be more common. Audiences want to know about the team. They want to know about the partners. They want to see all these validators. They really, really need to look under the hood to understand what's going on before they could put their name behind it. Because the industry has been branded with, some scams and other things like that in the eyes of the mainstream audiences. So to be able to display all of the working relationships and everything that's behind that is a big deal. To be able to have influencers talking about the story, and really to be able to simplify things. I actually love how eToro has done it. We've all been seeing these amazing commercials in between the panels here, and watching Alec Baldwin break it down in a way where it feels like anyone could understand is massive. And not just saying that because we're on the same panel here, but again, I really look to see things chopped down to a few words, because I don't want the audience to understand it as much as I want them to understand it to a great enough degree where they can repeat it to their friends directly afterwards. And I think that's a massive shift in the industry, is having all of that education, all of that believability behind the stories for all projects and platforms.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, we have 45 seconds. So you guys got like 9 seconds per person real quick. Favorite follow on crypto Twitter. It's the last question we ask on the Funky Crypto podcast. Brad, go. Favorite follow.
Peter McCormack.
Nice. Next, Jason.
Hackerpreneur Justin Wu.
Okay. Joy.
Tim Draper.
Tim Draper, good one.
Draper.
Nice. Andrej.
Satoshi Nakamoto.
Nice. Okay, guys, we have 5 seconds. I appreciate your time. That was a lot of fun. I hope you guys all have a great day. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, man.